My name is Maximo Lora. I want to be the first one to welcome you to Impact Nation. And tonight, we want to continue along with the training about mindset. Because one thing I do believe is, and before we become bigger, we got to become better. And I don't mean bigger as an organization, which I do mean that, but I also mean big as individuals. Like, how do we develop ourselves to become bigger so we can be a bigger personality, a bigger person, so that we can make a bigger impact as a leader? See, our goal as an organization is to create a movement of leaders, leaders amongst leaders, a leadership development factory. We want to be that organization that when you join, you become a better person. When you join, you learn some skills to pay the bills, but you also learn skills to be an influence, to make an impact. Because if you ever heard of John C. Maxwell's and you read any of his books, he clearly says, at its simplicity, leadership is influence. That's what leadership is. It's influence. So what I want to do today is I want to go into a topic that you might have seen me talk about before. If you've been around me for quite some time, or you've been around the space of network marketing, you might have heard me talk about this, but I wanted to bring it back because I think it goes hand in hand with last week's training about mindset. We talked about the teachability index, right? And today I want to talk about the 4 levels of learning. If you've heard of the 4 levels of learning, give me a number 4 in the chat. If you've heard this before, give me a number 4. If you haven't, give me a number 5 as a high 5. Like, I'm ready. Teach me 4 levels of learning. I'm down. Give me a number 5 if you're ready to learn. I see some people that put 4 and 5. They must be confused. I don't know what's going on, but we're gonna teach it regardless. And this is what, actually, if you ever see me teach this before, it's one of my favorite things to teach about, because I truly believe that if you pay attention right now, and ladies and gentlemen, do me a favor, get rid of all distractions. Because I promise you this, if you listen clearly to this training, it might be that one little thing that makes a quick shift in your mindset that allows you to become a better learner. And if you become a better learner, you can learn, you can open yourself up to learn new things, and possibly, if done right, create the life of your dreams. Do you realize that sometimes we're just one little piece away from changing our life? I mentioned a book a couple trainings ago when we were talking about our ATM system, U Squared. If you ever have a chance to pick up the book U Squared, short read. I'm talking about, I want to say 30 to 50 pages. It's a really short read. But in that book, it talks about a fly banging his head against the glass and not realizing that there was an open door right next to it. And that could be today. You might be banging your head with your network marketing business. You might be banging your head in your career. You might be banging your head in your relationship. And something I say today, because of the 4 levels of learning, clicks, and you make that shift and your life change. That's how important it is to pay attention. So let's begin. Level number 1. Let's talk about level number 1. My clicker was working. 1 second. There we go. Stage number 1. Unconsciously incompetent. All right. Unconsciously incompetent. What is this level? You don't know what you don't know. See, we all think we know something, but I'm going to keep it real with you. When you truly have knowledge, true knowledge is knowing that you don't know everything. And that's the beginning of knowledge, is when you realize you don't know everything. So unconsciously incompetent is truly like ignorance. Like you just don't know. You really don't know. Stage number 2 is consciously incompetent. So you finally realize, you know what? Oh, snaps. I don't know what I don't know. So you consciously know that you don't know. So you're incompetent, but you're conscious of it. You're like, you know what? You're right. I don't know what I'm doing. And just to give you some perspective with network marketing, when I started, I'll use myself as an example. I'm not gonna point no fingers. I'll use myself as the example. When I first started network marketing, I was unconsciously incompetent. I thought I was competent because I'd done marketing before. I'd done graphics before, but I've never done network marketing, referral-based marketing. I've never built a business like this. But because of my ignorance, I thought I was the man until I hit my head so much. My first 2 days, I was pacing in my living room. What am I supposed to do? I don't know how to do this. I've never done anything like this. And I gave it a shot. I did it my way. I didn't listen to my mentor. My mentor told me, Max, keep it simple. Let's call people together. Put me on the phone. Put me in front of your people. I'm here to help. And for whatever reason, I didn't want to listen. And it goes back to what we were saying before is last week is the teachability index. My willingness to change wasn't there until I got to a point I said, you know what? I really don't know what I'm doing. Let me at least be aware of what I'm not doing wrong. I called my mentor and he explained to me what I was doing wrong. And then it brought me to stage number 3, which is consciously competent. I learned some things. I said, you know what? Okay, when I show someone, I got to keep the invite simple. So I'm gonna say less to more people. Okay, got that. So when I invite people, I got to get them in front of the information. I'm not here to explain it. I'm not here to talk too much. I just need to get them in front of the information or in front of a leader. Got it. So I knew what to do. I knew the steps. I consciously was competent. I could do it, but I had to think about it. Like, okay, I do this, I do that. I do this 3-step setup. After 3-step setup, show the video. When I'm done with the video, I call my leader. My leader does testimonial, and then I put him in the system. All right, got it. After I put him in the system, I add him to the Facebook group, add him to the Telegram. Okay, got it. That's consciously competent. See, and you can apply this to anything in life. This is the 4 levels of learning anything. You unconsciously are incompetent at tying your shoes. You look at your mom, your dad, or your auntie, your uncle, your sister, your brother as a little kid, and you're like, can you help me tie my shoes? Can you please help me tie my shoes? And then you realize that you're like, you know what? I can't do it. So can you help me? And then they hold up, let me teach you. And when they teach you, they say, make a loop. Once you make a loop, you make another loop. Take that loop, tie it around that loop and pull, right? And that's consciously being competent. So I became better. And then you get to stage number 4, which is consciously, unconsciously competent. Think about it real quick. Do you really need to think about it when you tie your shoes right now? You don't need to think about it. You know, maybe if you're Pedro, you might think about it a little bit, but for the most part, you don't need to think about it. Why? Because you're unconsciously competent. You do without even thinking about it. You can tie your shoes while having a conversation. You can tie your shoes while listening to music. You don't have to focus because you naturally just do it. You want to hear another one? Have you ever been at work or somewhere not home and you leave, and as you're leaving, you get a phone call, and it's an important phone call. Oh my God, I gotta pick up. And you put it on speaker or Bluetooth, and you start driving home. I mean, you're deep in this conversation. This is a really good conversation. They called you to talk to you about something important. You're talking. And 20 minutes go by, and you end up home. You didn't even think about it. You didn't even focus on the road. You didn't even notice that maybe you didn't use your blinker, but you got home. How is that? Unconsciously competent. You did it so much. You did it over and over and over and over and over. Stage number 1 is called a novice. And I want you to notice these terms because I got these terms from, I was studying something the other day, and it was talking about, and if you know me, one thing I've been studying lately is the Gospels. And one of the reasons I'm studying the Gospels real heavy is because I believe, and maybe you notice it now, but I believe that Jesus is the greatest network marketer of all time. He had a message. He recruited 12 dudes to spread the word, and it turned into millions and millions and billions of people that heard the message, right? So that's, for me, what did he do to talk about a message and it get to everyone? What he did, if you really look at how he studied with the disciples, if you know Jesus's background, he was a carpenter. And I took this from a page in carpentry. When you're a carpenter, when you first join carpentry, you are a novice. You're joining the trade. And then when you grow as a carpenter, you become an apprentice. I don't know if you guys ever heard that term apprentice, but back in the day, you were an apprentice underneath someone until you learn the ropes and can move on, right? An apprentice. A lot of times that was even how you got a job. You couldn't get the job until you became the apprentice first, learn the ropes, and then you got the job. And then stage 3 is a journeyman. Maybe you heard this from carpentry. Once again, I just took this idea from that. And last but not least, you become a master because you're doing it unconsciously. You have mastered the trade. Many people talk about in our profession, they call it the 1-3-5-7 rule. 1-3-5-7. It takes 1 year to actually learn what you need to do. It takes 3 years to make like a decent part-time income, like a decent part-time income, like a residual, like a good residual. It takes 5 years to make a 6 figures in this industry. It takes 7 years to become a master. Now, don't get it twisted. There's some people that come in here and smoke it and do that a lot faster. There's some people that take a little bit longer than that, but those are the averages. Now, my training today is mainly this slide and another slide I'm gonna show you next. So I'm gonna spend a little bit of time here. I'm gonna break this down for you right now because I really want you to understand what I'm doing with this, so you can look at yourself where you're at. I see German in the chat. That's me. Like, when I talk about these different stages, you're gonna see yourself in one of these stages, and that's important because when you realize where you are, that helps you with the first thing. Now, stage number 1, for me, I see this as the wrong intuition. Intuition is that that gut feeling, and it's all wrong because you think you know what you know, but you really don't know. Because once again, I told you before, stage 1 is you don't know. It's ignorance. You just don't know. You think you know, but you don't. So that's a wrong intuition. Stage number 2 is the wrong interpretation. You know that you don't know, like you realize, I really don't know what I'm doing, but you're still not understanding it. You don't interpret it well. Stage number 3 is the right interpretation. You're gaining the knowledge and wisdom and you're applying and you're saying to yourself, you know what? I'm starting to understand this. And then stage number 4 is right intuition. You see how the intuition is right now. You ever seen, I don't know if you ever seen it, but back in the day, Michael Jordan, he was one of the greatest basketball player of all time. He goes down the court and he gets this defense on him and he just throws it up. And he goes in the net. Out of intuition. I remember one time I was doing a presentation at someone's house and the power went out. Like the complete power went out. But because I've done the presentation so much, my intuition kicked in. I just kept going. No slides. I knew what the next slide was in my head. I just kept sharing the information. I knew the information I needed to say based on the slides because I memorized all my slides. I've done it so much. I mastered it. Once again, I'm dissecting each stage so you can understand A, where you are, and B, what it takes to get to the next stage. Speaking of what it takes to get to the next stage, let's talk about that. If you're in stage number 1 and you want to get to stage number 2, the only way you can get to stage number 2 is awareness. Think about it, because if stage number 1 is you don't know what you don't know, if you continue not to know that you don't know, you're going to stay there. So when I say become aware, you need to say to yourself, hold up. I've been doing this for this long. I haven't got the results I wanted. Obviously, I must be doing something wrong. So now you're aware. You're saying to yourself, okay, I'm aware. Let me at least listen. So you go to stage number 2. Stage number 2 is consciously incompetent. You know that you don't know. But how do we go from stage 2 to stage 3? You have to make a decision. Ladies and gentlemen, it's one thing to be aware, but it's another thing to make a decision. If you look at the word decide, if you break it down, decide, it means to kill off. to kill off from. I'm not telling you to make a choice. You don't choose to go make this happen. You know why I don't say don't make a choice? The word choice, when you choose to do something, that means you have options. If you really want to win and have success, and once again, this training is not just about network marketing. It can be about anything. You can become aware, like, you know what? I'm not where I want to be in my relationship. You realize, you know what? What can I do better? I need to make a decision. I want to be a better husband. I want to make a decision. I want to be a better mother. I want to make a decision. I want to be a better brother. Whatever it is, you want to decide to be a better person of. You know what? I'm not where I want to be in my career. I need to make a decision. Decide. But then also with decide, you see the word knowledge. Because if you realize you don't know what you don't know, like, so consciously incompetent, saying, I consciously realize I don't know what I'm talking about. So when you make a decision, the decision has to be to gain knowledge, because how you proceed. Remember, stage number 1 is ignorance. Ignorance is the absence of truth. The absence of truth. Write that down. Ignorance equals the absence of truth. All right? Stage number 2 is about knowledge. Knowledge is the accumulation of truth. You're accumulating. You're like, okay, I need to learn this. 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 And then you get to stage number 3, which is consciously competent. Like I said, you now know that you don't know, but now you're saying, because I collected this knowledge, I accumulated the truth. I'm not ignorant no more. I know what I need to do. So how do you get out of stage 3? Repetitive action. In order to become a master at anything, you need to do it over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. You know another way that you can become a master is watching others do it. See, one of the reasons why I love to role play, I remember when I first started network marketing, I used to drive with my cousin to presentations, or anytime I was alone with another agent, this is what I would do. Maybe some of you can do this for fun with other agents, or if you build the business with a friend or your significant other, you can do this while you're together. I find it fun, but it's also a way to train yourself, is role play. Hey, go ahead, close me. Give me an objection. I'm going to try to handle it. Why? Because I was doing it over and over and over and over again. So when it really did happen, when I really got that objection, I was ready, and I was a master at it. Because you could throw any objection at me right now, and I'll be ready to handle it. Why? Because not only do I have 12 years experience, but I've been studying this craft. So once again, you're going from ignorance, right, which is the absence of truth, to knowledge, which is the accumulation of truth, which then you go into understanding, which is the assimilation of truth. So you're assimilating the truth, you're understanding the truth, and then master. I've been geeking out on words. Listen to me closely with this. This is, you might find this interesting. If you followed a good book, it talks about how Solomon, King Solomon, one of the richest kings in the world, I think he was the richest, he asked God for wisdom, right? Wisdom. And if you look up in its original language, the word wisdom that was used, it was representing skills. And if you really look at becoming a master, and you dig deeper into the word wisdom and skills, it's the application of truth. See, I don't know if you've ever heard this quote: knowledge is not power. The application of knowledge is power. So true wisdom, is when you take your knowledge and you apply it. If you don't apply knowledge, all you are is book smart. You might know a lot, but are you doing a lot? That's the real thing right there. When you start doing, that's when it starts. So in order to get there, you have to become a learner. These are the 4 stages of learning. You have to become that. Once you become a learner, then you can do more because you made a decision to take repetitive action. And when you do more, you can have more. Be, do, have. Speaking of which, I told you I'm only using one slide tonight, or maybe I have one more after this, but I'm going to focus right here. I also want to show this graph to you. I'm going to convert this 4 stages into a graph. All right. If you look at the left of the graph, it says consciousness. If you look at the bottom of the graph, it says competence. Consciousness is how much you have to use your mind. Competence is how good are you at it? Have you become an expert? And you know what the interesting part, and this is, I wasn't even going to talk about this, but I just thought about it. You know what competence also does for you? It builds your confidence. And the word confide, remember, I've been geeking out with words lately. Confide means to trust in yourself. Confide, with faith, to have faith in oneself. You have confidence, it simply means you trust in yourself to get it done. So if you look at this graph, consciousness to the left, competence to the bottom, this is what happens. As you move along the stages, you get more competent, but then you don't need to be as conscious because you become a master at it. Like me, like I naturally walk into a restaurant, I start prospecting the waiter without even realizing. When I get around people, I naturally now, after so many years of reading books like How to Win Friends and Influence People, I naturally give people compliments. I naturally, because I learned this from one of the greatest network marketers in the world. I don't know if you ever heard of her name. Her name is Mary Kay. She has one of the biggest companies in the world. Mary Kay said in her book, if you have her book, I highly suggest reading it. In her book, she says, people have a sign on their head that says, make me feel special. So I learned that many years ago. So when I get around people, my goal when I get around people, especially if it's someone I know, love, and trust, and especially if it's someone that is giving me good energy, I want to make them feel special. I'm going to give them a compliment, a genuine, real compliment, not just fluff. I'm talking about, I'm going to look at something that they did, they said. It could be even something that they're wearing. Wow, that's a nice shirt. Wow, you have good energy today. Hey, you did a good job singing. The other day, Melissa's on here. I saw Melissa on stage. Melissa, she's a part of our worship team at our church, and she crushed it. I was like, hey, great job. That was good. That was good. The other day, I was talking to Pedro. Pedro was telling me, and I'm doing this on purpose, by the way. Pedro was telling me he's writing a book. So in case you didn't know, Pedro's writing a book. Put pressure on him to hurry up and release the book. And he told me the title of the book. And I was like, Pedro, that's a phenomenal title. I'm not going to give you the title. That's between you and Pedro if you want to ask him. But I was like, that's a really good title. Why? Because I truly, genuinely believe it was a good title. I want to compliment him. So what am I saying? As you become better at stuff, you become unconsciously at it. You're just doing it with ease. You're doing it like nothing, like real simple. Now, obviously, I just told you the 4 stages of learning, and I told you some of the good stuff. But I also want to give you the 4 mistakes people make when it comes to going after success, when it comes to creating a dream lifestyle, when it comes to developing something. If you're ready to receive the 4 mistakes and you're going to write them down, give me number 4 in the chat. Give me number 4 in the chat. Like we said in the beginning, we're going to tell you everything we did right so you can get more of it. And we're going to tell you everything we did wrong so you can avoid it. Mistake number 1, don't learn from or listen to the right person. I'll give you an example. I'll give you a network marketing example. Someone joins network marketing. Their broke uncle says, oh my God, those things don't work. I can't believe you did that. You better not call family and friends to invite them to that thing because those things definitely don't work. That's one person's opinion. Rather than taking that person's opinion, what if you listen to someone that's a top leader in network marketing, has over 10 years experience, has made over 6 figures in their career? Or Inner Circle, there's a ton of audios of people winning. What are you feeding your mind? What are you learning? What are you listening to? Who are you listening to? Be mindful of who you're getting advice from. So first mistake is don't learn from or listen to the right people. They're not listening to, and they're not learning from the right people. I heard a quote once. It said, if you value someone's opinion, be prepared to live their lifestyle. If they don't have the character that you want, if they're not living the lifestyle that you want, if they're not being the type of husband that you want to be, the type of wife that you want to be, if they're not creating an environment that you want to be a part of, why are you listening? Be around people that build you up, that help you grow, that when you get around them, you get excited, you light up. That's why I love the community that we have created here, because we are a community of like-minded, fun people. Number 2, low teachability index. Maybe you haven't heard that. Maybe you weren't on last week's call. I highly suggest go watch that training. But to give you a quick overview, teachability index, your willingness to learn times your willingness to accept change. So we said last week to rate yourself from 1 to 10. So if your willingness to learn is a 10 and your willingness to accept change is a 10, you're at 100. That's 100% teachability. That's really good. But if your willingness to learn is like a 2, I hear people say, Max, I don't read. I don't have time to listen to audio. I don't have time to go to training. Your willingness to learn is low. It's like a 1 or a 2. You're not willing to read? I just don't like reading. But what if that can change your life? I don't like reading, but I do it because I know that many of the secrets of life are hidden in books. Many secrets of life are hidden in books. And not to mention the greatest book of all time, the bestseller of all time, the Bible, has so much wisdom. And then times your willingness to accept change. How are you at adapting? If you're not willing to change, you know what? I want to do it my way. I'm not doing it your way. I'm good. If that's low, that means your teachability index is low. Guess what? That's a mistake. You're not going to get the results you want if both are low. You got to learn how to increase them. You got to be willing to learn new skills. Okay, you don't know what, you don't like to read? Listen to audiobooks. Maybe just read a couple pages and then get to audio. There's something about reading itself, but if that's a challenge, listen to audiobooks. Listen. At least you're taking in something, right? Number 3, spend too much time on the how. I call this paralysis by overanalysis. You're too worried about how it's going to happen. How do I do it? What I got to do? Oh my God, how do I do it? Don't worry about the how. Just go do it. You know what's one of the best teachers of them all? Experience. Because if you do it wrong, guess what? You just learn how not to do it. And if you do it right, do it again. The cool thing, once again, we're going to tell you what we did right so you can do it fast. So when I tell you, hey, let's call your people together, it's because I've done it before. I've helped people win that way. When we say, hey, use the ATM group, it's real simple. It's great for follow-up. Any and every time I show someone the deal and they say no or not right now, I still add them to ATM. Why? Because people are watching. Just yesterday, I had a friend of mine. I showed her network marketing 12 years ago. 12 years ago. She's inside the ATM group. She saw that several people joined this week as members, and she messaged me right away. Hey, we gotta follow up with that lifestyle club. You gotta give me an update. She told me. Why? Because she's inside the group and she saw me post. That's why it's so important that we post. She saw a post that Max added someone. Max welcomed someone to the club. Facebook tells you when you post. That's why it's important to always be posting in there. Number 4, not enough time, consciously competent. What do I mean by that? You don't spend enough time in stage number 3. Remember what I said earlier? In order to get to stage number 4, it's repetition. You got to do the thing over and over and over again, even when you don't feel like it. I get on these calls Tuesdays to add value to you guys. Some Tuesdays, I'll be real, some Tuesdays I'm exhausted. I had a long day, but I'm still on here. Why? Because I want to be competent at it. What are you consistent with? Become consciously competent. You have to stay in that stage long enough to become a master that you're unconsciously doing it. And when you get to that point, you become a master. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to leave you with this one more time. We talked about this before, but we have to become better before we become bigger. Bigger as an organization and bigger as individuals. I want to encourage you and remind you that you can become better. But in order for things to become better, you have to become better. And a lot of times, most of the time, in order for you to become better, something has to change. You can't expect to get the same result doing the same thing you're doing right now. Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, that's insanity. In order to get something different, you got to do something different. So you got to be willing to change. Remember, your willingness to learn and your willingness to accept change. The better that is, the more success you have. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for your time. I greatly appreciate everyone on this call tonight on the Impact Nation weekly call. Hope you got some value. Hope your mind shifted just a little bit so you can become a better person and attract better people. I want to thank everyone for your time. I greatly appreciate everyone here. Let's go impact this world and let's go make a change. God bless. Take care. Talk to you guys soon. Bye-bye.